These artists broke new ground. Van Gogh put emotion in a brushstroke and layered it thick. Cézanne wasn't just distorting reality, he broke the composition barrier. And Gauguin, he left France to paint his paradise. Now these rule breakers are coming to San Francisco, to the city where they belong. Join Spencer Christian for Van Gogh, Cézanne, Gauguin. The Musée d'Orsay comes to the de Young.
I'm standing in front of the de Young Museum in San Francisco, one of the few cities in the entire world to host the amazing Post-Impressionist collection from the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, a collection which includes works from Van Gogh, Gauguin, Cézanne, Toulouse-Lautrec. We're going to uncover the stories and the inspiration behind the Post-Impressionist masterpieces. The Post-Impressionists were inspired by their predecessors, the Impressionists, who included Manet, Monet, Renoir, Degas. These were artists who lived and worked in Paris in the mid-19th century. Now, before the birth of Impressionism, the French art scene was led by the Académie des Beaux-Arts, which considered historical subjects, religious themes, and portraits to be the standard by which art was measured. The Academy also helped artists earn commissions and gain prestige.
Really, the taste was governed by that annual government-sponsored juried salon that occurred each year, where if you were included, it made your career for the year, and if you weren't, you were broken. The style that was prevalent was very academic, very classical, very tightly painted with absolutely no brushwork in evidence whatsoever. Amongst the painters of the 1850s and the 1860s, there were a group of artists who both individually and collectively said, we're tired of this. We'd like to do something different, something more revolutionary. For several of the earliest Impressionists, Monet, for example, or Basile, it was going out into the open air and painting en plein air without really sketching and working up drawings prior to executing the paintings in more rigorous detail in the studio.
Our look into the lives of the Impressionists took us to the town of Giverny, to Claude Monet's home, and to his famous garden, which was a source of great inspiration for many of his works. I spoke with Monet's great-granddaughter-in-law about this period in the art world. What accounted for this shift in focus in art as the Impressionists took nature as their, I guess, their inspiration? As opposed to the classical way?
I think it was coming little by little.
Yes.
But a lot of people, because they wanted to be accepted by the official salon, they just went on with traditional things. I think Monet was, in his mind, he was a leader. He loved Cézanne. He said, it's such a pity that this man has no confidence in himself, and he had not got enough support during his life. So he was feeling very sorry. So Cézanne came here to paint, stayed a few weeks or so, and Monet was organizing dinners in his honor with Sisley, Pissarro, Rodin, you know, just to support him, to give him courage and encouragement. And sometimes he was so shy that he was not coming.
The works of the Impressionists were largely rejected by the Salon, and they were harshly criticized by art critics and by the establishment. So these so-called radical artists banded together and exhibited their own work 8 times between 1874 and 1886. The individual artists saw only modest financial rewards, but gradually they gained acceptance by the public at large.
As the Impressionist exhibitions took hold and as the works became more generally accepted by the public and the dealers picked up these artists and accepted and started to promote their work, then of course commerce enters the equation, and we see sort of a change of pace, and the style was proliferated throughout not only Europe but also into America.
You have more paintings in America, I think, than we have in French museums. And Monet is not the painter who is preferred by the French. It's Renoir.
Right.
And it's Van Gogh.
Why is that?
I have no
Just
idea.
no idea.
But you know, when I'm going to America, for instance, any hotel, you have reproductions of Claude Monet everywhere.
Yes.
And I said, I flew all this distance. And I'm in Giverny again.
The post-impressionists included artists such as Van Gogh, Cézanne, Gauguin, Toulouse-Lautrec. They were inspired by the Impressionists, and they employed the Impressionists' distinctive style and contemporary subject matter, but they also wanted to do something just a little different.
Roger Fry, it's a British critic, and he organized at the very beginning of the 20th century in London at the Grafton Galleries a show, and it was called Manet and the Post-Impressionists. He thought that Cézanne, Gauguin, Van Gogh, and the nabbies were different enough from the Impressionist generation to be shown as a separate, aesthetic. He forged this term, post-impressionism, just, to mark the differences between the two groups.
The post-impressionists broke apart and followed different paths in their search for something new. Georges Seurat and Paul Signac were labeled neo-impressionists, who developed the style known as pointillism.
Laying tiny dots of color one next to another, that in a scientific way, in a physical way, transposed those dots in the viewer's eye into a seamless image. But if you approach the canvas, you see, oh my gosh, these are just little tiny dots of paint.
Paul Gauguin became a leading figure in the symbolism movement, and Pierre Bonnard and Jean-Édouard Vuillard sparked the Nabi movement.
The Nabis are my favorite artists, as you know, in that period. What impresses me is that they lasted so long in the 20th century. They remained friends until 1940. What I adore in them is that at first they are a group of friends who remained binded together, and they have the same feelings and they have the same opinion of what art should be. Art should go back to the symbol, art should go back to the synthesis, and they are very much influenced by philosophy and by higher ideas.
They are in large part inspired by intimacy, creating patterns on the surface of their canvases, but they are also tuned into a number of the subjects of the Impressionists, that it would be modern life, modern society, modern people, and particularly seen through the canvases of Vuillard, Bonnard, definitely interested in Parisian life.
In the salon, in the artistic milieu, there was the feeling that something was changing between 1888 and 1890.
Coming up next, Paul Cézanne, why he's considered one of the most influential post-impressionists, and why he kept his mistress and his son a secret from his father.